It's
Okay,
okay,
wait,
no
wait,
problem.
wait, wait. I found something. Okay, I think I got
Yeah,
something.
it said it's being recorded. Jazakallah
Excellent.
khair.
Okay, right, no problem. Ism fi'l harf. Okay, great. So these were the very root, right? And for the most part, in my class, we've been so far dealing with just fi'l, right? We've been going over different conjugations of af'al, and that's been pretty much the bulk of what we've been discussing. We are going to segue into isms, we will get into that actually probably in the next lecture if everything goes smooth, but that's gonna come soon. But so far we've been just focusing mainly on af'al, right? Another thing that we've discussed is that all words, right, have root letters. They all have root letters, right? And the base root letter that we've been using since day one to kind of understand how words work and what their extra letters and root letters are fa'ala, right? This is the base, right? And in the slides, I gave the example of hadamna, right, for example. And now you should probably be proficient enough to figure out where the root letters are, right? So the root letters from this are the first three, right? Fa'ala, right? And then the noon is not a root letter. It's actually a letter part of the conjugation, right? To signify the jama' muannath, the plural feminine. Okay, so this is root letters and then extra letters, right? So you can have two, when it comes to root letters, right? So if we're talking about root letters, you have a few options, right? Number one, if you're discussing af'al, if you're discussing either a fi'l or you're discussing ism. So if you're discussing a fi'l, there's only two options when it comes to root letters. There's either three root letters, right? Or four, right? When it comes to asma, you have actually three options, right? You have three, four, or even five, so in some cases, right? You can have oh whoops, maybe this four should be up here, right there. There you go, right? So when it comes to afal, you can have three root letters or four root letters, but you cannot have five, right? But when it comes to asma or ism, you can have three, four, or five, right? Okay, great. Now, we also designated when it comes to understanding root letters and when it comes to understanding words, we kind of gave aliases. So if I have a word, for example, like aslamu, right? From salima aslamu, this is the mudari, wahid mutakallim, right? So right off the bat, I will know that the root letters are salama, right? And we labeled these respectively the fa'ul kalima, ainul kalima, and lamul kalima, right? This should be um, pretty fresh in everybody's minds. So we used the fa'ul kalima, ainul kalima, and lamul kalima, you can say structure to help us, pinpoint and to tell us, which word is in which position of a specific fi'l. Having this under our belt, then we are in a position to go and discuss, the types of verbs, right? Types of verbs. And we mainly classified that into four types, right? So you had Madi, right? Past tense, Mudari, which is present tense or future tense, Amar, and Nahi, right? So past, present slash future, command, prohibition. Just 1 second, guys. I want to see if anybody joined the meeting. How do I check? Okay, maybe if I stop share for a second. Did somebody join? No. Okay, we're fine. Sorry, just making sure. Okay. All right. Madi Mudari Amar Nahi. Okay. So these were your basic building blocks, and I believe we've gone through basically all of them. The last class we discussed Amar And nahi is also very similar, although I don't think we discussed nahi, but amar and nahi they're always paired together and they're very, very similar, right? Just one for prohibition and one for command. We also discussed that a fi'l, any given fi'l, any given verb will have a sigha, right? And a sigha is a combination of person, number of doers, and then finally gender, right? So you can have up to 3 persons, first, second, and third. Number of doers, you can have 1, 2, or 3, singular, dual, or plural. And then you can also have up to 2 genders, right? Eventually, we end up with 14 sighas, right? All your afal, with the exception of amar, and also with the exception of nahi, you will have 14 sighas in total, right? And that's your fa'ala all the way till fa'alna, and then yaf'alu yaf'alani all the way till naf'alu. On a similar note, and some people put this under sigha as well, but some people keep it separately. You can do it either way. Another thing that we discussed is voice, and we also discussed transitivity, right? Lazim and muta'addi, right? We can just write Arabic for this. Lazim, muta'addi, and then voice. This is what we know as ma'ruf and majhul, right? So we'll start off with voice. So when we have a fi'l, like for example, nasartu, right? That means what? I helped. This is an active voice, right? Why is it active? This is ma'ruf. Active means ma'ruf because I know who the helper is. It's me. I'm the helper, right? So this is why it would be classified as ma'ruf. On the other end, when I say nusirtu and I make this majhul, it will mean I was helped. And it's majhul because we do not know who helped. We just know that I was helped, but we don't know who was doing the actual helping, right? So this is ma'ruf and majhul. When you're coming to lazim and muta'addi, I'll just leave this for a second if anybody wants to copy it. When we're coming to lazim and muta'addi, right, this means that some verbs will require objects or will have objects, right? So muta'addi means it will have a direct object, right? For example, darabtu. Whoops. What is this? Guys, this is what I was talking about. That's going to be really annoying. Can you see my screen again? Yeah, okay. All right. So lazim and muta'addi, right? Muta'addi means that it has a direct object. The fi'l has a direct object. For example, darabtul walada, right? Walada right here, this is your direct object, right? Direct object. I'm sure you've discussed this with Sheikh Panjbaya. We call this in Nahu the maf'ul, right? And particularly maf'ul bihi, right? I'm not sure if you have gone there or not, but that's called your maf'ul bihi, excuse me, darabtul walada. Whereas on the other hand, you'll have some af'al which do not require a direct object, right? So no direct object. For example, the word qumtu, right? I stood, right? It doesn't require any direct object. You just stood, and it's a sentence. It's a complete sentence. The difference is if I say darabtu and I do not add a maf'ul bihi, right? So if I say the word darabtu and I don't add the word walada or anything after it, it's an incomplete sentence because I'm waiting for a direct object. Whereas in the case of lazim, which doesn't require a direct object, it's complete without anything after it, right? So this is a very important distinction, and this is going to become a little more relevant when you study the mazid fi abwab, right? We'll come to abwab and what they are actually today. but this becomes very relevant in the next couple of discussions, right? Okay. We also we segued after discussing this into discussing states, right? Excuse me, states, ahwal, right? So in total, we know that there are a total of 4 states. We have rafa, nasab, jar, and jazm, right? These are our 4 states. From these 3, right? So from excuse me, from these 4, 3, let's do some color coding. So let's say green will be for af'al, and then we'll say orange will be for asma. Right? So from these, for your af'al, it's these ones: rafa, nasab, and jazm, right? Your fi'l can either be marfu', it can be mansub, or it can be majzoom. And in some cases, we have what we also call mabni. I'll come to that in just a second, right? If you're dealing with an ism, it can have these other states of rafa, nasab, and jar, right? So in other words, a fi'l can have jazm, but an ism cannot have jazm, and an ism can have jar, but an ism cannot have jazm, right? Should be pretty preliminary and basic. And while you're discussing this, it's probably good to note that then you have some words which experience no state, right? Experience no state, right? We call those words mabni, right? So no matter what happens, no matter what type of amil or agent you put in front, it will not affect a mabni word, right? So again, what puts words into a state? I just said the word. It is a amil, right? A amil, an agent, right? We translate typically in English we translate it as agent. So this is what causes words. Put it this way: words are not put into a state or do not experience a state without having an amil. It's just not possible. Just like cause and effect, right? If you have an effect, that means there was a cause in order for that effect to happen, right? So that's the same, right? So amil is agent. Okay. Now, for af'al particularly, you will have, as we said, af'al will experience rafa, nasab, and jazm, right? Rafa, what? So as I mentioned, right, a word is there must be an agent that causes something to be in the state of rafa, right? That's a little more of an advanced topic, right? So we're going to probably come back to it at a later time. But for the time being, the more important awamil are the nawasib for af'al, and then you have the jawazim, right? And this is what you're hopefully familiar with by now. You have an, lan, kay, idhan on the nawasib side. And on the jawazim side, you have in, lam, lamma, excuse me, that's lam al-nahi. And then there's also lam al-amr. Lam al-amr and lam al-nahi. Okay. In lam lamma, lam al-amr and lam al-nahi. These are all on the slide, so you can easily find them there, right? So these, when you put these in front of a mudari, right? And the reason why we're saying mudari is because Madi is mabni. If you put these in front of Madi, it's not going to have any effect. It's not going to do anything, right? But if you put them in front of mudari, like for example, let's take lan, right? And let's put it in front of the word yansuru, right? So what's going to happen? Or, well, it's yansuru without the lan. But after adding a lan, right? It will change into lan yan surah, right? And that's easy. But if you have a case of dual, right? Excuse me. If you have a case of yan surani, for example, that will change into lan yan surah, right? If you have, again, your jama' yansuruna, that will change into lan yansuru, right? And so it goes on, right? There's one important exception to remember, which is the case of the plural feminines, right? Yansurna, right? Yansurna and tansurna, right? In both of these cases, when we add lan, it does not affect, right? Why does it not affect? Because these words are, or these two sighas are mabni, right? Jama' mu'annath ghaib and jama' mu'annath hadir are both mabni. Therefore, there's no effect that takes place when you add a lan, right, in front of it. Then, towards the last couple of classes, we discussed what is it called? Ta'keed, right? So I'm going to just start a new section here. Ta'keed, emphasis, right? And emphasis can enter on three types of af'al, right? It can enter on, it can either enter on Mudari, Amr, or Nahi, right? And Ta'keed, right? So if we were to break off, Ta'keed, you kind of have, you have a few types, right? So if you're, let's say Ta'keed bin Noon for the time being, right? So you have a few types. You have النون الثقيلة and then you have النون الخفيفة. Okay. النون الثقيلة, what it looks like is ينصرن, right? If you did your homework in the Sarf workbook, this should be pretty fresh. So this is what noon thaqila. Why is it called thaqila? Because you have the noon with the shadda on here, right? This noon with the shadda, right, which is giving the double noon effect. That's called noon thaqila. And you have all 14 sighas in this case, right? All 14 sighas. When it comes to noon al-khafifa, right, it looks almost the same with the exception of the fact that the noon does not have a shadda on there, right? Yansuran. Right? It has a sakin, right? As you can see right there. Now this doesn't have all 14 sighas. This has less than that. I forget the exact number. I think it's somewhere around maybe 6 or 8, something like that. And the reason for doesn't have all 14, so not all 14 sighas. And the reason for that is there's no duals, right? And there's also no plural feminines, right? If you want to look at the details, then you can look at the slides or the book, either or will do. And you'll see how many exactly there are. But in short, in the Noon Thaqila, you have all the sighas. And then in the Noon Khafifa, you only have these few. Excuse me. Let's say I told you this will be a little annoying. I need a pro version for everything these days. Okay, so by the way, guys, I've set up another Zoom meeting. So this one is going to end in 10 minutes, right? So as soon as this one closes, I'll send the other one in the WhatsApp, and then you can join in that one, right? Everything is timed literally. Okay, but I'll end this thing right now after the last section on Amr, right? After discussing Ta'keed, I don't know if everybody's okay with what we've discussed so far. Any questions? Sorry, I know I did run a little fast.
No, you're good.
Okay. We discussed in the last class al-fi'l al-amr, right? Al-amr. Okay. Amr is made from mudari, right? So it is created, excuse me, from mudari, right? And there's only 6 sighas, only 6 conjugations. What are those 6 conjugations? Well, they're all the hadir sighas, all second person conjugations. That is what constitutes your amr, right? So starting from taf'alu all the way till taf'alna, right? That is your range of amr, right? So you can call it range of amr. Okay. How did we make amr, right? So if you look back at the steps, right? So there were essentially 3 steps, right? Number 1, we looked at, we remove alamatul mudari, right? So alamatul mudari, right? So if I have a fi'l like, let's say, tansuru واحد مذكر حاضر, right? First step was to remove, let me create some space here. I feel like I'm getting cramped. Okay. So tansuru, first step would be remove alamatul mudari, right? So this piece right here is gonna go away. So it would just be something like this, right? Second piece, we look at if the word after alamatul mudari has a sakin, right? Then we add a hamzatul wasl, right? So we can see the word, if you look at tansuru, tansuru is alamatul mudari. So the letter after alamatul mudari, the noon, has a sakin, right? Has a sakin. So in that case, we add a hamzatul wasl in the beginning, right? So now from this funny looking thing, we're going to end up with this, right? You add a hamzatul wasl there, right? And that's how it's going to look so far. Now, what's important to know is, how did I know it's going to be unsur, right? How did I know that there is a dhamma on the hamza or on the alif, right? So when it comes to the hamzatul wasl in amr specifically, there's only really 2 options, right? So let me just write that here. I'll delete this. I'll come back to it later. So hamzatul wasl for amr, there's really 2 options. Either you're gonna have a dhamma, or you're going to have a kasra, meaning there's no option for fatha and there's definitely no option for a sukun. When is the hamza al-wasl going to have a dhamma and when is it going to have a kasra? That's determined by the aynul kalima, right? So if aynul kalima has dhamma, right, then this will basically then the hamza will have, the hamza al-wasl will have a dhamma as well. I don't need this, right? So if the aynul kalima has dhamma, then you're gonna have a dhamma on the hamzatul wasl, right? So if you look at unsuru, right, the aynul kalima is the sad. This is your aynul kalima, right? So because this has a dhamma, that is also gonna have a dhamma as well, right? Whereas contrast this with a different case, right? So let's take kasara yaksiru, right? No pun intended that I'm using kasara for kasra. And I take the word taksiru and I try to make the amar out of this, right? So now if you look carefully, the aynul kalima, which is the sin, it has a kasra. So if the aynul kalima has a fatha or a kasra, right? So if it has a fatha, if it has a fatha or a kasra, now your hamzatul wasl is gonna have a kasra, and the amr is gonna look like this for this one, right? Iksir, right? So see, you can see I have a kasra. Oh, oops! I should put a kasra here, right? And now, kasra here, right? In summary, right? In summary, if you have a dhamma on the ainul kalima in the mudari, then your Hamzatul Wasl is also gonna have a Dhamma. If your Ainul Kalima has a Fatha or a Kasra, then it's going to have a Kasra in the Hamzatul Wasl, right? That's so far step 2 to make the Amr. And then final step 3, which is apply, right? The Jazm rules, right? Jazm rules to the end. Jazm rules to the end mean that, for example, in the case of, so as you can see over here, I have, what did I have? Okay. I have unsur, right? So if I'm gonna make this, pretend like it's majzoom, right? Then what's gonna happen is this thing has gotta go, this damba, right? So the final version is gonna look like unsur with a sukun, because that's what corresponds to jazm, right? And if I have a case of, let's take tansurani, for example, right? And zip through the steps, right? Excuse me. Tansurani. How much time do I have? 2 minutes. Okay. So tansurani, first I'm going to strip the alamatul mudari, right? So it's going to look like this. Surani. After I've done that, now I'm going to add a hamzatul wasl with a dhamma, right? Surani. And then finally, once I've done that, now I'm going to apply the jazm rules to the end, and I'm gonna be left with unsura, right? Because when you have, for example, a lam in front, the noon of tathniya and the noon of jama', both of them drop off, right? And this is how you have amr, right? So this is a khulasa, this is a summary of everything we've discussed. Right? I'm going to send the link in the WhatsApp for the next meeting, and we probably will not go beyond 9, right? But just look out for the link there, okay? I'm sending it right now.
Awesome. Jazakallah. We'll see you then.